What's up, Blizzness Nation? Welcome back to Strictly Blizzness, episode 140. Huge thank you to Creative Edge and Edge VR Arcade for making Strictly Blizzness possible. And hopefully everybody watching this has all your fingers and toes. And your 4th of July was safe.
Yes.
So.
Oh, I'm like fingers and toes because they got sick of counting who's in, who's out over the weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Happy 4th of July. Post 4th of July.
Post 4th of July.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, what do you got? we had a pretty data-filled couple episodes, so
we did. We had some fun stuff. Only thing to really talk about today, unless you want to give an update on our upcoming playoff game.
And not that we haven't covered. I mean, by
Okay.
the time you watch this, everything we've talked about will be live. So
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and really we should go through kind of what has happened over the weekend. So a lot of games happened when we did not play. Obviously, we had a bye. But along those same lines, there was a lot that happened across the league. There were teams that got eliminated. There were a lot of photo finish endings that eliminated people as well as got people still alive. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Let's talk about the West first, because I know we don't have a lot of people that watch the show from the West, but I know we have an Arizona fan. And Arizona is still alive. So there are a few in the West that have been eliminated, though, and that would be Duke City, Tucson, and there's one more. San Antonio.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Have all been eliminated from the playoffs. It doesn't mean they're still not going to play a game because they all still have 2 games left to play, meaning this weekend and the weekend after. So they could still upset the ranking for other people because as of this episode, no one in the West nor the East has clinched the seed, any seed. So we thought with Massachusetts losing that would clinch them a seed, but it didn't because then Quad Cities won. So there's a lot happening. In the West, just in the West, there's so much going on right now as far as who has clinched. So in the West, I think only San Diego clinched, right?
And Bay Area clinched the prior week, but yep.
Yeah, so San Diego and Bay Area have clinched, but there is no number 1 seed.
Because Vegas, or because Bay Area lost to Naz.
Correct.
Yep.
So because Naz won yesterday, it kind of upset the apple cart. So I personally like it when it comes down to the last, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out who's going to be in the playoffs and what's going to happen. I think that's really cool.
Right.
That's that whole parity thing that we've talked about. But I will say this, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but there is potential for people to have a better record than another team and not go to the playoffs. It could happen.
In the West, right?
In the West.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
In the West. So as a for instance, and I know we have an Arizona fan, so that's why I picked Arizona. Arizona could have a 10-6 record and not go to the playoffs because of who they lost to in conference. If you get most of your wins out of conference, but we have this conference piece that has to get looked at when we're considering tiebreakers and the seeds. And you may say, well, that makes me angry because it should just be straight up number of wins. And I would say, well, true, but we talked about how important our conferences are, and in order to make them important, we had to have that be a deciding factor. The problem is that in the West, for sure, and even in the East, there's some of it, the number of conference games is different for each of the teams that are still alive.
Yeah.
So, in conference games,
it does happen in the NFL, and we try not to compare this too much to the NFL, but there's a reason that there's X divisions. So
And
you
we'd
had a
like to
team
get
with losing record make the playoffs in prior season because a certain division is stacked. So
right.
yeah.
Right. And it's kind of the same thing here. Again, not to say we're the NFL. That's not
Right.
what I'm saying. But the whole premise here is that you have to make the conferences matter. Otherwise, why have conferences?
Yep.
Then you might as well just say it's just the IFL and it's straight up win-loss, but you may never play someone, across the states. The only way that this becomes balanced and the only way we have a balanced schedule, and I don't know, is this the 450th time on 140 episodes that I'm saying it? We have to all have the same dates in order to be able to have a balanced schedule. We have to have the same dates available so that everybody can play the same amount of people. Instead of 3 times, you only play them 2. It's 1 home, 1 away, and you get to play everyone in your conference. That's the only way that it could be a thing.
I don't get caught in the forums ever. Just stuff pops up on my feed every now and then. But like, is there, as teams come in, specifically Indianapolis, who is on our side of the United States, this is the question for you. This is not a leading the witness. Like, does the league look at realigning the divisions each year too? Would Frisco ever go now that there's multiple Texas teams and as Indy gets added, blah, 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 to keep people on their sides of the states?
Yeah. So, yes, we've talked about it, but we don't want to do it and then have them go to one, come back.
Yep.
We don't want to do that back and forth thing. So, as of right now, Frisco stays in the East. Indianapolis coming in is great. If there are other teams that come in, of course, we can't just say, no, you can't come in unless you're in the West or you're in the East. If we would have 2 teams come in from the East the next time, then yes, we'd have to look at realigning. But we also want to make that line define that at some point we may have more on one side than the other.
Yeah.
We like playing with the even number of teams, right? But that's always up in the air. When you go to an odd number, what are you going to do? Are you going to change? We've chosen not to change. When Bismarck left and we had uneven, we were like, now we're back to even.
Yeah, another, again, NFL parallel, right, is Miami and Tampa are in complete different AFC,
same state.
NFC. Yep.
Same state.
Yep.
But where were they prior to?
Right. Yep.
Is how they kept, kept their division, their conference. Let's talk about. I'm just looking at my cheat sheet.
All good.
So,
Frisco had a heck of a game too. People didn't watch it. I mean, 80-some points. So, franchise high for them if the stats are correct.
Yes, that was correct. That was a great game for them.
Yep.
So anyway, let's talk about elimination now, because now we're going to talk about the East. So we said Duke City, San Antonio, and Tucson are out in the West.
Yep.
So now let's talk about the East and the people that we play with on a regular basis. After this weekend, Iowa is out. After this weekend, Sioux Falls is out. After this weekend, because of Quad Cities winning, Jacksonville is out.
So the only one that can catch Quad Cities is Tulsa?
Yes.
Got it.
Now, if just because, and we've been this caveat for people too, just because those people are out doesn't mean they aren't effective in changing someone else's fate, right? We have a home playoff, but if we don't win out, then we don't have the conference championship in Green Bay. If we do win out, and then we win the playoff game, the championship is here.
We can say that would be August 2nd, Friday night, because those of you guys who live in Green Bay, family night is on August 3rd, and that is a nightmare. So that game would be, if played in Green Bay, August 2nd, Friday night.
Yeah.
I know that question will come. So,
Yep. Now, none of that has been, the number 1 seed hasn't been decided yet. Again, we have to win out in order to be the number 1 seed. But obviously Frisco is right on our tails, so it's truly 1 loss and it's theirs. They would be the number 1 seed going into the playoffs.
But then have to win your first game.
Correct.
So again, because that could be Mass versus Frisco, or Quad Cities versus Frisco or Tulsa versus Frisco, and whoever wins that one would come or stay for like it.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
The second game is actually more of a nightmare on the back end when we talk inside of what we do than the first one. The first one, you have. The second one, like, if we know we're the one seed, and Kathy and I have talked a little bit, I think that game will go on sale, just being real. And then the Rush Center, because they do it with hockey all the time, so it's no secret here,
yeah.
would handle refunds if that game doesn't happen here because we need to get ahead of it. But
Yeah.
like once we are the one seed, I think the second game would be active.
So let's talk about that for just a little
Yep.
bit, because this is about behind the scenes. So the nightmare, and Ryan said it a couple episodes ago, and we said it again last time we recorded in studio. Having more than a week to plan is huge,
Yep.
right? Because you have to get all sorts of things lined up, not just at the venue, but for the visiting team. So in the IFL, whoever visits for the playoff, the home team who's having the game, and this is just something that we've, as a league, have chosen to do. It's great that you make the playoffs. There's costs associated with making the playoffs. You got to keep people in housing longer. You have to plan for your trips to go to playoff games or the championship. So your expenses do not stop because you reach the playoffs. There's no big purse at the end that you're going to get. You get the rights to having a home game. In Green Bay, I have historically said, and I think Ryan has too, just give the playoff game to somebody else, because you're now in a season, and especially for if the Eastern Conference Championship would be here, like Ryan stated, that's family night at Lambeau. So that is when families can afford to go to a Packer game, which it's not really a game, but it's a way to get people inside the stadium that normally would not be able to go to the stadium. There's a big fireworks display. It's a big deal in Green Bay. Well, because it's a big deal in Green Bay and people come from all over, what do you think it's like for Ryan to find hotels for the visiting team?
Rhymes with fun.
Meaning it's the opposite of fun. I don't know that it rhymes with fun.
We've made our brand 140 episodes in on being transparent, right? So 2019 was 2,200 people physically in the building, not paper tickets out for the playoff game. An entire month earlier than this game. That game was late June. Now, I will say this one falling where it falls, although drives the hotel rate up, we are in the thick of football hunger in Green Bay, and having dirt cheap playoff tickets, at least for the first one, might actually be pretty ridiculous with Packers training camp leading up to the game, right? It might be, right? You don't know because it's Wisconsin, and that's really tough to say 140 episodes, but it's literally Wisconsin in July. We have 3 months to enjoy cabins, families, no school, whatever. I'm on like U Sports goes away at the end of like mid-July, but then fires up like. It's just a lot to try and outsell people wanting to be outside. So
yeah. And kids are back in school. There's schools that go back in the second week of August. Football camps have already started for the fall. You got kids in training right now, and then they're going to start actually practicing in August. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. It's one of the reasons why Larry and I are adamant that the whole season has to shift into the colder months. It's got to start early March. It's got to be done in June so that we're not, because we even have an issue being in August. Not that people are playing, but it's hard to find refs. Right. It's hard to find refs to ref the games in that August timeframe. Anytime we butt up against anything NFL, that's an issue in Green Bay because we are literally right across the street from the NFL. Now, I would love to say, and we're working with the Packers to get stuff out to their database of people that if they're going to be in Wisconsin, come to a playoff game, come to the championship if it's in, not championship, the Eastern Championship, if it's in Green Bay. But there's still that distinction of it's not real football. You can say that until you've been to a game. I think that once people come to a game, they realize the similarities between the NFL game and the indoor game. Yeah, it's indoors, obviously. Yes, the field is shorter, obviously. You can't just run off the field. You hit a wall. But we've had a lot of NFL guys that have been in our building that will say, there's no way I could play this game because it's too fast. It's hard on the body, so on and so forth. But
yeah, I mean, by the time this episode's there's no more secrets. $5 tickets will have been live, and now you kind of understand the thought process. Right now, it's going to increase every week, but it's not that it's crappy football by any means. It's easily the best team in their 10 years, and on paper, I believe we've chased historically some of the best Blizzard teams ever. And we just realize what we're up against, right? Like, and we want a packed house with the goal, and it's not throwing one more in the garbage can. Just we want a ton of people at that first one. Should the Eastern Conference Championship be hosted here that following week, we need a packed house because we're also up against it on August 2nd. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want to get people in to enjoy the game. And then, you come in for a playoff game and you're like, whoa, this is real. I'm going to come back, the following week and see a championship in the Eastern Division, or Eastern, is it Conference Division? I don't even know what we're calling it anymore. So. Conference. And then we'd have divisions if we divided it up. Okay.
So one more time, and a huge shout out to Build Your Base. Here's exactly how, since everybody's curious. So $5 this week, as you're seeing this episode, ends on Saturday. Goes to $7 next week as we build to the playoffs. Goes to $10 game week. Excludes, because I took a phone call, and you know who you are, asking if you get your season ticket in the front row for $5. Excludes front row and party pit. And I do love you, but excludes front row and party pit. And along with that, as an attendance increase, thanks to Build Your Base. So first 1,000 fans, once we clear 1,000 in the building, which it probably is already. I haven't checked. So 1,000 beef sticks, the first 1,000. At 1,500 fans, $2 dogs and $2 sodas are active. 2,000 fans, $2 beers are active, thanks to our friends at Dean Distributing. And once we clip 3,000, JT Smoothies, who is the smoothie vendor in the Rush Center, has got $3 12-ounce smoothies. 4,000 fans is an amazing offer for what would be the Eastern Conference Championship. You will not know unless you were at the first game. Mic drop. Can I drop this, Sean?
No, because you'd have to drop it on the floor and something would break.
Fact check that, Blizzard Nation.
So let's talk about building our base, because we're building it off of cheap tickets, but having a full house makes a huge difference. We have so many fans that have been in our building that can't believe how loud it gets.
Yep.
And the opposing team can't believe how loud it gets. No, we do not pipe in any sound. I don't think with our sound system, I don't even know how we could pipe it in.
No, and we want 5,000 plus at this game. That's the goal. But there's a weird threshold, like at 2,500, 3,000, when we seat them properly at the Rest Center, that it gets loud. Mm-hmm. Like 90s Night, May 31st is a prime example, which was right around that in the thick of summer, again, as we were approaching the end of school year, that got crazy loud for a mid-sized crowd. So
yeah. So we want you guys to come to the game. If you like this episode, share it with people that like football, just to get them hyped up as to the magnitude of this game and what it could mean for Green Bay.
Kathy and I won't do that. We'll give you your money back, but I'd be blown away if you regretted coming to a $5 playoff game and had never been to an indoor game. So if you see the ads, thanks to our friends at Creative Edge and EdgeVR, or the post or something the Packers share, any of that stuff hit this week, invite a friend. If you're already a season ticket holder, get somebody to come for $5. I will apologize. I won't give you your money back because that could be a lot of $5.
Yeah, no.
But I literally would be blown away if you stayed through half and weren't like, what the heck is this? Why haven't I gone before? So
the tellers at Chase, the two guys.
Yeah, they know I'm stopping by, actually.
Yeah.
I had so in the past 2 weeks, I literally have a spreadsheet of don't forget to print these tickets, Ryan. And the Chase guys are on there of all the people, because they just, sometimes I'm in there for an hour doing school checks, and the three people, Carrie being one of them, I said when we get the playoff game, I'll swing back in. So
Yeah.
it is on my spreadsheet. So
Yeah. So they it's Lennon and
yeah,
Jake?
and Jake, and
Yeah.
one used to be an island sushi waiter. That's how I know him. So yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and they played pickleball.
Yes,
I found that
I know
out.
exactly too which guys you're talking about, and a softball league together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're like, "We'll be there if it's on
Yep.
we'll be there." So that's great. That's funny that you're taking
I have
tickets.
literally a checklist because just people are like, tell me when they're going on sale, and it's a lot, and it's not making light of football, but like normally I'm already working on 2025. That's just, and I am still, but with I now have to talk to computers.
I'm talking to a computer.
Do you want to play a game? Yeah. Now I have to talk to partners where I'm normally scheduling hey, let's recap the season and look at 2025. And oh, by the way, can you share this playoff game and get your people to come? So, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about front row tickets. Are there any front row tickets available that
There
people
are.
could
So
purchase?
when people are in the system right now looking at $5 tickets, there are Party Pit and front row is open. It's just normal price.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they
Because
could
our
really
corporate
get a
partners,
good experience.
Shout out to any of them who are like, we just can't make the game, nor are we going to take inventory away from you. Some of those are back in the system in prime real estate.
That's fabulous. Because I personally would invite people and say, get in the front row.
Yep.
That's what I would say. And I'd say, pay it because it's going to be worth it. Trust me.
Yes.
Because regardless of who we play, Quad Cities, Massachusetts, Tulsa, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a tight game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very physical
you looked
game.
at Kathy. We really didn't go through them all, but like it was the ever cliche last second indoor football thing. Besides two blowouts, there were two franchise highs in points this week, but other ones were the Naz Bay Area game was drop kick into deuce. That's how that game went to end the game.
Yep.
And then
Mass loss by
Quad
trying
Cities
to
Frisco or Quad Cities Sioux Falls was game-ending field goal.
Goal for two.
Yep.
They were going for two.
Yep.
If they would have kicked the field goal, they would have tied it for a second overtime. But they went for two, and there was no penalty flag for interference, and they didn't get to try it again. So
it's great football. And when you're playing and your season ends when the clock hits 0, you're going. There should not be a blowout on either side of any playoff
I don't
game
think
coming.
There will be.
So yeah,
I don't think there will be based on who's still left in the West. And who we know in the East, which will probably not get decided, I'll be honest with you, till the very last game.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, it's the other, last behind the scenes thing, right? But when you're talking to your hotel people, you don't know whether to tell them because a flying team takes 2 days and a busing team takes 1. Like, you can't give them the team until it's decided. So you're holding 2 room dates, and it's fun. It's real fun.
Yeah, and so let's
Ask
talk
me if
about.
I like my job, Kathy.
Not today,
I
Ryan.
love the people I work for, Kathy.
Gonna,
Is that the right answer?
I'm not going to ask you. I didn't ask you the question, Ryan.
I answered it.
But let's talk a little bit about behind the scenes logistics. So I started talking about this and then got distracted with everything else. But
your microphone. Sorry.
If Quad Cities comes to town, we pay for transportation up to $10,000. So if Quad Cities comes to town, it's a bus ride and 1 hotel night stay. If Mass comes to town, it's $10,000 because we'd have to pay the Max because there's no way that they are getting flights, especially if it ends the last game.
Yep, last week.
Correct.
Yep.
They're not getting flights for 28 people under $10,000. So we're just forking out $10,000 to them and having to find a 2-night stay during a crazy time here in Green Bay. So yeah, it's doing this, constantly doing this, and not in a good way. I'm not doing this for everybody to collect. It's get out the
game.
Come to the game.
Thank you to our corporate partners who are still feeding the team and not. And I don't blame our hotel partners. So Blizzard Nation understands what's going on that week. It is on the back of the shareholder meeting in the EAA. There is nothing they can do to help us with room rates. It is out. It is the hotel folks in town. I've talked to a few of them. It is the busiest weekend in Green Bay outside of a Packer game. It is nuts. So,
yeah. it is what it is. But another reason why we want the actual championship to be played in early August or in July versus mid-August. So, and that'll be here before we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Craziness. Anyway. I think
It's
that's a
good
lot.
It was.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So stay tuned. Keep watching all the social media that has to do with the IFL. I don't think they posted anything that they have to retract. Joey's on it. I know Joey's watching and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. But Todd and I had a conversation this weekend around, how are we going to handle some of the things that will come up around conference. We made a decision as a league that was going to matter. So we can't take that back just because someone gets eliminated because of it. I do have, on a somber note, and we probably should have talked about this at the beginning of the show. We had a coach pass away right before a game, or he passed away after the game, but he had a heart attack prior to the game. And our hearts go out to the NAS team, and you can go out there and look at everything that has been posted about their coach. This is kind of an awareness thing for especially men, because it does happen. It's called Widowmaker for a reason. Make sure you guys are getting your hearts checked. He was very young. He was in his 40s, I believe, and very and healthy. I mean, very much a family man, father of 2, I believe, and just very, very sad. He passed away the following day. So our hearts go out to his family as well as to the NAS team as they navigate through this, especially going into the playoffs. You know, losing an OC, a DC is critical. Every coach is critical anytime you go into playoffs. And he was definitely a player favorite, I would say, from a coach perspective. So
yeah.
I hate ending on a somber note, though. But
come to the game.
Come to the game. Let's get excited.
Yes. Yep.
Let's be exciting.
Yeah, this will have aired, and you'll have had plenty of opportunities to share some incredible graphics by Ben and Tyler, our 2 social media, and Annie. That team is incredible. You'll have some great content to share as you lead up to that game. So if you can't go, that is all we ask. Can you watch the show? Share something on social, because maybe someone that can for $5. So
yeah. Get your enthusiasts out there to buy a $5 ticket or a $7 ticket. Come and have some hot dogs and beers and maybe a slushie or 2.
Yeah. Let's activate them all.
I'd love to activate them all.
That's what I got.
That's all I got.
Is it that time?
I think it's that time.
Should we hit him with it?
Let's hit him with it.
Go Blizz. Don't forget to like, follow,
subscribe,
share,
and ring that notification bell to get all of our content in your inbox. That seemed kind of weird.
What?
Actually joining hands.
we normally miss or what?